we had closed last class, and I think 70 people joined in WhatsApp, 61 still at Slido. People make it fast. That is the point of asking for the class 10 minutes before, so that you, yes, 62 people joined at Slido. Make it very fast. 812479 is the Slido code. 812479, that is the Slido code. Please join faster. Please join faster. 812479, it is a Slido code. 812479. The attendance is based on this Slido, not on WhatsApp, means Google Meet. Google Meet will be matched with the Slido. Then only the persons who are present both at Google Meet and Slido, they only will be given attendance. So join faster, please. Out of 73 people, only 63 people have joined. Please join at Slido. 812479, the code. Make it faster. Okay, 75 in Google Meet, 64 in Slido. Please make it faster, students. 1 minute left, then we'll start the quiz. I think, please make it faster. 812479 is the code for Slido. We'll start the quiz at 2:30 exactly. Okay, it's 2:30. I'm starting the quiz. Here goes your first question on your screens. First question on your screens. Which is not an example of a polysynaptic reflex? Withdrawal reflex, patellar reflex, Golgi tendon reflex, flexor reflex. Which is not an example? Okay, so which is not an example, I had asked. In the last class, we discussed about the two reflexes. One is monosynaptic, in which the sensory neurons were directly contacting the motor neurons. Then we talked about the polysynaptic, in which there are interneurons between the sensory and the motor neurons. And if you are asked which is an example, which is not an example of polysynaptic reflex, withdrawal reflex, it is an example of a withdrawal reflex that we had discussed. It is an example of a polysynaptic reflex. Yes. Then patellar reflex. Patellar reflex is also known as the knee jerk reflex. In the knee jerk reflex, we had seen that there are interneurons which are in the knee jerk reflex. We talked about the different sensory and motor neurons, in which we said that is an example of a monosynaptic reflex. So patellar reflex, it is an monosynaptic reflex. Withdrawal reflex is polysynaptic. Yes. Then Golgi tendon reflex, which we will be discussing in the subsequent classes, that is also an example of a polysynaptic reflex. Then comes your flexor reflex. Flexor means just extension. Flexor means just withdrawal. So again the same reflex, that I have just changed the word, so that also is coming under this polysynaptic reflex. So the correct answer is your patellar reflex or the knee jerk reflex. It is not an example of a polysynaptic reflex. It is a monosynaptic reflex, as we had discussed in the last class. So all the three reflexes These are all polysynaptic, but patellar reflex, it is monosynaptic reflex. So just understand one thing: extension means to extend, flexion means to withdraw, right? That is why the flexor reflex and withdrawal reflex, they both are same. Next question on your screens. The glucose transporters present in the brain are GLUT1, GLUT2, GLUT3, GLUT4. R, it can be multi-optional. Yes, time is up. 65 people answered totally. So most of the people answered GLUT1, and 18% people answered GLUT2. 3 GLUT3 is 12%, GLUT4 is 29%. So yes, we had discussed in the last class that GLUT1 we had shown in the figure, but GLUT3 is also present in the brain. So that is why the question goes: the glucose transporters present in the brain are. The question is multi-optional. So the correct answers are GLUT1 as well as GLUT3. These are the two glucose transporters which are present in the brain, and glucose is transported across the blood-brain barrier through these transporters only, right? So these are the two types of glucose transporters present in the brain. We had discussed about GLUT1 in the last class, but GLUT3 is also present. Next question on your screen. Which is not a function of CSF: mechanical support of brain and spinal cord, maintenance of intracranial pressure, chemical buffering, supply of glucose and amino acids to brain tissues, transport of neurochemical substances including growth factors. Yes, time is up. 68 people answered. The correct answer is supply of glucose and amino acids to the brain tissues. Most of the people answered it correctly because we had said that blood supply through the capillary endothelium into the interstitial tissues of the brain, they supply the blood, means the substances that the nervous system needs in huge amounts, like your glucose, amino acids, all these things. But cerebrospinal fluid, that is for only micronutrients like vitamin B6 and also some vitamins we discussed. So supply of glucose and amino acids to the brain tissue, it is not a function of CSF. That is being done by the other endothelial capillaries that are being that are being supplied to the interstitium of the nervous tissues. Okay. Next question on your screens. CSF flows from the fourth ventricle towards pia mater, dura mater, subarachnoid space, third ventricle. So time is up. 66 people answered. Most of the people answered subarachnoid space. The correct answer is subarachnoid space. We had said about the pathway or flow of CSF, how the choroid plexus of the lateral ventricles, they put in some amount of CSF, how the choroid plexus present in the third ventricle, they also add some of the CSF, how fourth ventricle secretes CSF, and then they are moving towards through the different lateral and the median apertures, right, to the subarachnoid space. And even CSF can also flow through the central canal of the spinal cord. So accordingly, we had taken two space, that is cisterna magna, present at the level of cerebellum, as well as the subarachnoid space present in the lumbar section of the spinal cord for CSF collection. So from the fourth ventricle, it is moving towards the subarachnoid space. 70% people answered it correctly. Next question on your screens. which is not correctly matched. Interventricular foramina, that is known as foramina of Monro. Lateral apertures, foramina of Lashka. Cerebral aqueduct, aqueduct of Sylvius. Median aperture, foramen of Magendie. CSF contains 99% protein, which is not correctly matched. Okay, 85% people answered it CSF 99% protein, and the correct answer is yes. That is not correctly matched because CSF contains 99% water, not protein, and rest all like the interventricular foramina, because there are two foramina from the lateral ventricles. Lateral ventricles means two. From each lateral ventricle there is a foramina. That is why it is known as interventricular foramina or foramina of Monro, which connect the lateral ventricles with the third ventricle. Secondly, the lateral aperture, which is known as the foramina of Laschka. Cerebral aqueduct, that is known as the aqueduct of Sylvius. It connects the third ventricle and the fourth ventricle. And then we have the median aperture, through which the cerebrospinal fluid comes out of the fourth ventricle. That is also known as foramen of Magendie. So out of this, everything is singular except this. Um, Lateral apertures, there are two foramen, and the plural of foramen is foramina. And this interventricular foramina, since there are two lateral ventricles, so from each lateral ventricle, through the interventricular foramina, the CSF is draining from lateral ventricles to the third ventricle, right? And these are known as the foramina of Monro. So joti joti foramina lekha hai, these are plural. Foramen means singular, and CSF, it contains 90% water. So most of the people answered it correctly. We are moving towards the next question on your screens. Here it goes. Blood CSF barrier is formed by capillaries of choroid plexus, tight junctions between choroid epithelial cells, perivascular end feet of astrocytes, all of the above. Okay, time is up. 28% people answered tight junctions between choroid epithelial cells. So the trap set in this question for you was a blood CSF barrier. So the all of the above option is also a bit confusing for you. I think that was the reason why we recorded so much less percentage. So accordingly, you can see we are talking about blood CSF barrier. Remember the diagram I had shown you? The capillaries of the choroid plexus, they are fenestrated. They contain pores. So there is no question that they are going to serve a barrier function. Then the endothelial cells or the choroid epithelial cells, within them they had the tight junctions, which were the anatomical basis of the blood CSF barrier, right? So 28% people answered it correctly. The right answer is tight junctions between choroid epithelial cells. Perivascular end feet of astrocytes, these are concerned with blood brain barrier, not with the blood CSF barrier. And all of the above has been given just to confuse you. So tight junctions between choroid epithelial cells, and that is the anatomical basis of the blood CSF barrier, because the capillaries of the choroid plexus, that is the endothelial cells of the choroid plexus, they have got fenestrations or pores. I had shown you in the diagram in the last class how the capillaries were containing different pores. So that is, they are not going to serve any barrier function. The barrier function is being served by the choroid epithelial cells. Okay. Next question on your screens. Choroid plexus is absent in lateral ventricle, spinal cord, third ventricle, fourth ventricle. Okay, time is up. The correct answer is spinal cord. 88% people answered it correctly. In lateral ventricles, third ventricle, fourth ventricle, choroid plexus is present, right? But in spinal cord, there is no such thing like choroid plexus. Next question on your screens. Which is not an unique feature of capillaries of CNS? Tight junctions that seal the neighboring endothelial cells, perivascular end fit surrounding the endothelial cells, absence of mitochondria in endothelial cell, absence of fenestrations, a small number of pinocytic vesicles, which is not a unique feature. Okay, very good. 67 people answered it, 67%. 67% was given to the option absence of mitochondria in the endothelial cells. Obviously, that is the right answer. And all the things are very peculiar or very unique to the capillaries of the CNS. Tight junctions, they are present between the endothelial cells, which are a part of the blood-brain barrier. Perivascular end fit, which are surrounding the endothelial cells. These perivascular end fit, these are the terminal process of the astrocytes, which are surrounding the endothelial cells. That is also present. Then absence of fenestrations. Yes, in the blood-brain barrier or in the capillaries of the CNS, we do not want to get it fenestrated. That is why there is absence of fenestrations in the mostly in the capillaries of the CNS. But when we talk about the choroid plexus, in the choroid plexus, the capillaries are fenestrated, but not in case of the capillaries of the CNS or in generally in the capillaries of the CNS. Then absence of fenestration, then there's a small number of pinocytic vesicles. Everything is true, excepting that mitochondria is definitely present in the endothelial cell. There is no absence of mitochondria in the endothelial cells. So 67% people answered it correctly. So next question. Which is a paired structure? Thalamus, cerebellum, hypothalamus, pituitary. So 42% people answered cerebellum. Thalamus is 19%, hypothalamus, pituitary. So cerebellum is never the right answer. The right answer is thalamus, because hypothalamus is one, pituitary is one. There is no thing like left cerebellum and right cerebellum. Cerebellum is also one. But thalamus, if you see, that is a gray matter structure. That is, we consider it as paired because it is towards both left and right. It is a paired structure. So all these are singular. I think you got confused with the cerebral hemispheres. The cerebral hemispheres are left and right, but cerebellum is one, hypothalamus is one, pituitary is one, thalamus is a paired structure, right? Because sensory information while traveling will be seeing how they are related to the thalamus. Even if you see the three-dimensional structure of thalamus, it looks like a paired organ. So it is a paired gray matter structure present in the brain, and below it is the hypothalamus. That is a singular thing. So which is a paired structure? 19% people answered it thalamus. That is the right answer. Next question on your screens. Here it goes. Rate of CSF formation in dog is approximately 47 to 66 microliter per minute, 100 to 125 microliter per minute, 10 to 20, 15 to 200. So this is I had not discussed with you in the last class. If you see in case of dog, the rate of CSF formation is 47 to 66 microliters per minute. But most of the people answered 61% was given to 100 to 125. that is for human being, there is around 125 ml of cerebrospinal fluid present at any given instant, right? So I think that is the point why you click the 100 to 125 mark. But I am saying about what is the rate of formation in case of dogs. Rate of formation is 47 to 66 microliters per minute. In that aspect, if you calculate, it will be around 75 ml in 24 hours in case of dog. But in case of humans, if you see the volume of CSF, it is around 125 ml in a particular time, right? So rate of CSF formation in dog is approximately 47 to 66 microliters per minute. Next question on your screens. Which of the following substances cannot pass through blood-brain barrier by simple diffusion? Oxygen, carbon dioxide, glucose, nicotine, ethanol, water. Not by simple diffusion. Okay, 62% people answered your glucose. And the correct answer is glucose. Yes, definitely glucose. Because oxygen, carbon dioxide, nicotine, ethanol, water, they all can traverse. And water can travel. Carbon dioxide and oxygen, they can also travel through the blood-brain barrier by simple diffusion without the help of any sort of carrier proteins. And but glucose, it requires the help of the glucose transporters or GLUT1 and 3 for getting transported into the CNS. Very good. Okay, the next question on your screens. Which type of synapse is present between sensory and motor neuron in a monosynaptic reflex? Now again, a trap has been set for you in this question. Monosynaptic reflex, that is faster than the polysynaptic reflex. So accordingly, you might have thought it will be electrical, but no. Everywhere there is a chemical synapse. Okay, so the right answer is chemical synapse, not electrical synapse. Between a sensory neuron and a motor neuron in a monosynaptic reflex, that is a chemical synapse, never an electrical synapse. Though it is faster than the this thing, though it is faster than the polysynaptic, but still it is a chemical synapse. Okay, the next question on your screens. Which neuroglia forms the blood-brain barrier? Oligodendrocyte, astrocyte, Schwann cell, microglia. Okay, the correct answer is astrocytes. Still, people, I don't understand why they are clicking on oligodendrocytes, Schwann cells, microglia. Why? The answer is astrocytes. Definitely, the perivascular end fit of the astrocytes, they are being wrapped around the endothelial cells, and they form a part of this blood-brain barrier. Okay, next question on your screens. Which region is devoid of blood-brain barrier? Hypophysis, median eminence, area postrema, pineal gland, choroid plexus, all of the above. It is not having blood-brain barrier. Okay, most of the people answered, 78% people answered all of the above. 65 people in total answered. The correct answer is all of the above. These are the areas which are devoid of blood-brain barrier because they are associated with certain functions where we do not want the blood-brain barrier to operate. Accordingly, they do not have the blood-brain barrier. Okay, so the next question on your screens. Which of the following cannot be considered a component of blood-brain barrier? Pericytes, tight junctions of endothelial cells, astrocyte, ENFITs, neurolemocytes. Okay, the time is up. 20% people answered pericytes, 11% tight junctions, astrocytes 3%, neurolemocytes is 66%. The correct answer is neurolemocytes. Neurolemocytes, they are also known as Schwann cells. They are not a component of the blood-brain barrier. Apart from this, astrocytes, ENFIT, they wrap up the endothelial cells. They are a part of the blood-brain barrier. Tight junctions of endothelial cells, they are also a part of the blood-brain barrier because the endothelial cells, they have got tight junctions between them. And thirdly, the pericytes are certain cells which also wrap up the endothelial cells, or they are found around the endothelial cells. So these three cells, or these three components, these are the basic components of the blood brain barrier, apart from neurolemocytes, which are Schwann cells. And Schwann cells, they are not anywhere responsible for the formation of this blood brain barrier. Okay, next question. Which transmembrane proteins are associated with tight junctions between endothelial cells of blood-brain barrier? So this is all. Most of the people answered all. The correct answer is all. So the tight junctions between endothelial cells, they are basically made up of certain subunits of these transmembrane proteins, which are occludin, claudin, as well as junctional adhesion molecule. They are also known as JAM, JAM. Okay, so these are the three transmembrane proteins whose subunits or small subunits of these transmembrane proteins, they are the component of the tight junctions between the endothelial cells. Okay, we are done with the quiz. Total 16 questions were there. We are going to the leaderboard. You can just see it. Are you able to see the rankings?
No, sir.
Okay. Now are you able to see?
No, sir. Sir, in Slido it is visible.
Yes. In Slido you see. The leaderboard is presented in Slido. Smriti Sikha Patro, Pratik, Amisha Naik, Anmesh Patnaik, Amrutansu Kumar Sao. So 5 new names have been added. I'm very happy about it. So every time the top 5 changes, that shows you people the talent you have. Everybody is talented. The thing is that you must introspect where you are going wrong. କାହିଁକି କୋଉଠି ଟିକେ ଭୁଲ ହେଇଯାଉଛି ବୋଲି ଅବଜେକ୍ଟିଭଟା ଖରାପ ହେଇଯାଉଛି. So in every quiz in the next class, I will also show you that in every quiz we have 5 different winners. So I'm very happy about it that new people are coming up as toppers in the quiz. So this is your so 13 questions were answered correctly, highest out of 16 questions, and the lowest is 0 out of 16 questions. Okay, so mostly we have a lot of people answering around 12 11 questions out of 16 questions. A number of people have answered correctly. 12 is still a bit lesser. 13 is also 1 2 3 4 5 5 people have answered 13 out of 16. So in the next class we'll also go with another quiz, and I'm very happy that every time I'm having 5 different people as your toppers of the quiz, and the people who are not doing well, please try to do well. Anything you are lacking, share. Even if it is not possible in a common forum, you can also WhatsApp me regarding your weaknesses or anything I can help you with. Anyways, so this is your leaderboard. Then coming to Google Meet, I'm presenting the screen. Today we'll be dealing with synaptic transmission, how the neurotransmitters they are released. Okay, what is a synapse? A synapse is a junction between two neurons, you can say, and the junction between a motor neuron and a muscle is known as the neuromuscular junction, that we'll be talking about in our future classes, and about a general synapse, that is the junction between two neurons. And whatever be the junctions, we have seen about the chemical and the electrical synapse. So we have never seen that the two neurons are completely attached to each other. That is not the case. Even a slightest gap of around 0.2 to 0.3 nanometer is also being maintained between the two neurons, right? And that makes the synapse. It is a site or a special site of contact where one neuron communicates with others. Synaptic transmission also occurs between motor neurons and their target tissues, and these are the chemical and the electrical synapse we have discussed in details. No doubt, electrical is the fastest, chemical is slowest. Electrical is bidirectional, but chemical is unidirectional. Chemical uses neurotransmitters to communicate, but electrical, there are different gap junctions through which the ions flow. The gap between two neurons in chemical synapse is more, but the gap between two neurons in electrical synapse is less, but there is a gap junctions present. And whenever in chemical synapse, whenever action potential reaches the terminal part of the axon, there is opening of the voltage gated calcium channels, and calcium being more present outside the cell than inside, calcium ion rushes inside. And calcium ion rushes inside, it helps in the release of the neurotransmitters which are packaged inside the synaptic vesicles to get released into the synaptic cleft. This is the synaptic cleft where the neurotransmitters are getting released. Then the neurotransmitters are contacting with different receptors which are present in the postsynaptic membrane, and accordingly they are opening different channels. Like we said, if the neurotransmitter is acetylcholine or glutamate, they will open sodium channels in the post membrane, or they will open sodium channels. If the neurotransmitters are glycine and GABA, they will open chloride channels. So accordingly, they will open certain channels in the postsynaptic membrane, and accordingly, the postsynaptic membrane will generate certain graded potentials. Thus, graded potentials can be either inhibitory or excitatory. And if the summation of the graded potential is such that it exceeds the threshold, then an action potential is generated at the trigger zone. And the trigger zone for a multipolar neuron, it is around the point where axon originates, right? So this was what we had covered in the previous classes. We need not go into details about it. Then coming to neurotransmitters. Before going to neurotransmitters, you must understand that this is a presynaptic neuron. Here is the synapse. You can see at the axon terminals, we have different swellings. These are the different swellings at the axon terminals. And this is the postsynaptic neuron. So this is the presynaptic neuron. This is the postsynaptic neuron. At the axon terminals, we have different swellings, which are known as the synaptic boutons or terminal boutons, we can say. So here you can see these are the swellings or the synaptic boutons, we can say, or the synaptic knobs. The other name is also terminal boutons. And these portions, these swelling portions at the end of the axon, they contain certain vesicles which are filled with neurotransmitters, right? And these vesicles, these are known as the synaptic vesicles, right? Now what happens? What happens that the neurotransmitters are released? Now in this diagram you can see this is the axon terminal at rest, or this is the synaptic bouton at rest. At rest you can see there are two things happening. One is there is a reserve pool. Reserve pool means they are reserved, when necessary they will be released. And these reserve pool, they contain the synaptic vesicles, right? And these synaptic vesicles are bound to or are remaining in place by binding to the cytoskeleton of the neuron. And what is the cytoskeleton? If you see the cytoskeleton, in the cytoskeleton we have different microtubules, we have different intermediate filaments, we have different actin filaments. So these things, they make up the cytoskeleton of a cell, right? And these neurotransmitters, they are remaining as reserve pools by getting attached to the cytoskeleton of the neurons. Secondly, at rest, there is also docking. Docking means we often see a ship, gote jahaja asiki port re dock kariki rahichi. That means it has thrown its anchor down into the sea and the ship is docked there, right? Similarly, in another thing you can see the synaptic vesicles, they are docked with the bouton membrane. So this is the bouton membrane. Bouton membrane, you are able to understand? So this is the synaptic bouton and this is the bouton membrane. And these synaptic vesicles, they are docked. They have just like they have got anchored into the bouton membrane. Got it? So this is the configuration at rest. What is it? The synaptic vesicles, they form a reserve pool. How they form a reserve pool? By binding to certain cytoskeleton. Secondly, the synaptic vesicles, some of the synaptic vesicles, they are remaining in a docked state. That means they have released an anchor like of thing which has got bound to the bouton membrane. We are talking about two things. One is the synaptic vesicles. Second is the inner face of the bouton membrane. जोठी की तमरा release टा हबो. Then when there is depolarization by an action, we had said in the previous diagrams or in the previous classes that these dendrites, they are the point of synapse. Some synapse can happen. So you can see some axons, they can contact the dendrites. Some axons, the axon terminal, they can contact the soma, the cell body of the postsynaptic neuron. And accordingly, they are generating certain graded potentials here. So once graded potentials are generated, like EPSPs and IPSPs, these are getting summated. There are two types of summation, temporal and spatial. So once they are summated and the graded potential, they are exceeding the threshold, then there is generation of action potential at this point. That is the trigger zone for a multipolar neuron. And once action potential is generated, action potential starts jumping from one node to another node. Then here the electrotonic current spreads to the next node. Then there is generation of action potential in the next node. Then there is again spread of electrotonic current, and in the next node action potential is generated. Like this action potential, it propagates down the axon. So once it propagates down the axon and reaches the axon terminals, once action potential reaches the axon terminals, what happens? There is, this is the state, the synaptic vesicles which are already, which were attached to the cytoskeleton, they are released. And in this case, the vesicles which were docked, now they have merged with the terminal Button membrane, right? And then they are released out. They release out their content of neurotransmitters by the process of exocytosis. So these are the two things happening. Number one is mobilization. Mobilization means the release of the synaptic vesicles from the cytoskeletal elements so that the synaptic vesicles are free to move now. Secondly, the synaptic vesicles which were already docked, they now fuse with the Button membrane and they release the neurotransmitter out. And everything happens when depolarization of action or depolarization reaches the axon terminal and there is entry of calcium into the axon terminals or into the synaptic Buttons. Once calcium gets entry, everything happens. So there are three processes. One is mobilization, second is docking, third is fusion and release, which we'll be discussing in details now. So first thing, we said that the synaptic vesicles, they are attached with the cytoskeleton elements. How they are attached? Here you can see the synaptic vesicle. This is a synaptic vesicle. It has got different proteins. Like one protein is known as synapsin 1. Eta jo bankuli badi bhaliya heichi. So this is a synapsin 1 protein. There is another protein which is known as synaptotagmin. So number one, what happens during the process of mobilization? So this synapsin 1, it helps in binding with the cytoskeleton elements. This synapsin 1 protein, which is a part of the synaptic vesicular membrane, they help in binding to the cytoskeleton. That is why these synaptic vesicles, you can see, they are reserved. That means they are bound to the cytoskeleton and staying at rest. Why? Because the synapsin 1 is responsible for binding to the cytoskeleton. Number one. So what happens during depolarization, or what happens when the action potential reaches? When the action potential reaches the axon terminal, calcium ion gets entry, and this calcium combines with calmodulin. And this calcium calmodulin complex it changes the configuration of synapsin 1 so that you can see synapsin 1 now no longer binds to the cytoskeleton. They are released. So this entry of calcium from the outside into the inside of the axonal or into the inside of the synaptic boutons, they bind to calmodulin. Now this calcium calmodulin complex, they change the configuration of this synapsin 1. Synapsin 1 was the protein associated with the synaptic vesicle membrane, which was binding to the cytoskeleton. And this calcium calmodulin complex, it changes the configuration of synapsin 1 so that this binding is no longer possible. That is why when the depolarization happens at this portion, you can see the reserve pool or the synaptic vesicles, they are displaced, right? They are now displaced from their cytoskeleton elements and they are free to move, right? Secondly, about this docking process, how this docking happens. Number one, we studied how this reserve pool is maintained, how the synaptic vesicle is attached to the cytoskeleton by the synapsin 1 vesicular membrane protein, or the synapsin 1 which is present at the synaptic vesicle membrane. Now the second point, how this docking happens. At rest, we are saying that there is a reserve pool being maintained. Secondly, there is docking. That means the synaptic vesicles are combining or are binding to the what? Are binding to the terminal bouton membrane. So docking happens by the help of three proteins. One is this. Here you can concentrate on this figure now. One is we have the SNAP25 protein, which is a part of the bouton membrane, not of the synaptic vesicle membrane. This SNAP25, which is also known as synaptosomal associated protein, the full form of SNAP, synaptosomal, SYNAPTOSOMAL, synaptosomal associated protein, SNAP25. Secondly, we have another protein of the bouton membrane, which is known as syntaxin. So these two proteins of the bouton membrane and one protein of the synaptic vesicles, which is known as synaptobrevin, that is vesicle associated membrane protein. So these three proteins, they help in the process of docking. Getting me? And out of these three proteins, SNAP25 and syntaxin, these are the bouton membrane proteins, whereas synaptobrevin, that is vesicle associated membrane protein. So all the things, these three proteins, they help in the process of docking. So at rest, we have two configurations. One is the synaptic vesicle containing neurotransmitters. They are forming a reserve pool. Why? How reserve pool? By binding to the cytoskeletal elements, they remain at a fixed place. And how this binding is happening? By the process of synapsin 1, which is associated with the vesicle membrane and then with the cytoskeleton. And this forms the reserve pool. Similarly, at rest, there is also a docking process. Docking means some of the synaptic vesicles, they are docked or they are anchored to the terminal boutons. And how this docking is happening? By the help of three proteins. SNAP25 is bouton membrane protein. Syntaxin 1 is bouton membrane protein. Synaptobrevin is synaptic vesicle membrane protein or vesicle associated membrane protein. So these three proteins, they help in the process of docking. Now this is the thing that happens at rest. Now when action potential reaches the terminal of the neuron, what happens? There is calcium entry. The voltage gated calcium channels, they open. and calcium enters into the axon terminal. And you know equilibrium potential of calcium is plus 90. That means it will try to take the membrane potential towards plus 90. In this process, what happens? First thing, your calcium, it will get associated with calmodulin, and this calcium calmodulin will displace this synapsin 1, and the synaptic vesicles will go free. Getting me? Secondly, the docking is already present. Now, there is another protein which is known as synaptotagmin. Here you can see there is another protein which is synaptotagmin. This synaptotagmin, it is a protein associated with the membranes of the synaptic vesicles. And this synaptotagmin can bind calcium. It can also bind the lipid membranes. So now when calcium comes inside, this synaptotagmin is able to sense, yes, calcium is present inside. Now it will try to make the synaptic vesicle merge or fuse with the membrane of the terminal Bhutan or the terminal Bhutan membrane. Now here you can see the synaptic vesicles, they are fused. How say jo docking thila, that is not present. Now they are fused. And the neurotransmitters are released by the process of exocytosis. So these are the three processes. One is mobilization, second is docking, third is the fusion release. At rest, there is a reserve pool of neurotransmitters in the synaptic vesicles. Because of this synapsin 1, it is contacting with the cytoskeletons. Even at rest, some of the synaptic vesicles, they have anchored themselves to the Bhutan membrane and ready for release. But they are not fusing and releasing. Why? Because this synaptotagmin, it can also serve as a brake. It inhibits the fusion and release without calcium entry. Action potential जो पर्यंत न आसीची ए माने डॉक हे कि थिबे एंकर हे कि थिबे केंदे फ्यूज करिबेनी अंक संगे काहे कि because this synaptotagmin is highly sensitive to calcium. एबे तमे एक्शन पोटेंशियल जनरेट करलो, एक्शन पोटेंशियल टर्मिनल एंड को आसी पहुंचिला, तमे देखिलो calcium will get entry because of the opening of the calcium voltage gated channels. Calcium will bind with calmodulin, and this calcium calmodulin will displace this synapsin 1 so that synaptic vesicles are free. Because एमाने ही जाय कि पुनी डॉक हे कि रहिबे, एमाने एठु फ्री हेले ही जाय कि पुनी डॉकिंग हे कि एठी रहिबे, तापर पुनी जो माने synaptic vesicles आसीबे से माने reserve pool maintain करिवे. So now once calcium gets entry, this mobilization is happening, then the fusion release, it is because of synaptotagmin. And synaptotagmin, it is highly calcium sensitive. It can bind both to calcium and to lipid membranes, and when calcium enters inside, this synaptotagmin causes the synaptic vesicles to fuse with the Bhutan membrane. And then there is exocytosis of the neurotransmitters into the synaptic cleft. This is the synaptic cleft. So this thing you can need, you can also take a screenshot of this thing. Release of neurotransmitters, it involves the mobilization, docking and fusion. This is mobilization. This is docking. And this is fusion and release. So this can come as a long question in your exam. How the neurotransmitters are released, in which you'll have to describe about the different proteins associated with terminal Button membrane, the proteins associated with the synaptic vesicles, what are the roles they have got to play, and how they are releasing the things. And you'll have to also do this diagram to support your answer so that it will be well explanatory. Okay. Next, moving forward, neurotransmitters of the CNS and PNS. You know, neurotransmitters present in the peripheral nervous system are acetylcholine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. You know that there are certain sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. Their neurotransmitters are acetylcholine, norepinephrine, epinephrine. But in the central nervous system, if you see, variety of chemicals are acting as neurotransmitters. This is the table showing the major neurotransmitters of the CNS, in which you can see under amino acids we have the glutamate, aspartate, glycine, GABA. Under amines we have dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, histamine. Under peptides we have endorphins, enkephalins, substance P. Under purines we have ATP. Under gases, nitric oxide. This nitric oxide can also act as a neurotransmitter, right? And these amino acids and amines, these are basically considered small molecule neurotransmitters, but these peptides, they are considered to be large molecule neurotransmitters. Amino acids and amines, they are small molecule neurotransmitter, and these peptides, these are known as the large molecule neurotransmitters. Now, how is this acetylcholine synthesized? It is synthesized from choline and acetyl coenzyme A in the axon terminal. Neurons that release acetylcholine, these are known as cholinergic neurons. The amine neurotransmitters like dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, histamine, tyrosine, these are all derived from amino acids. Now, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, they are synthesized from tyrosine. Neurons that release epinephrine and norepinephrine are called adrenergic neurons. So neurons that release acetylcholine, they are called cholinergic neurons. That release norepinephrine or epinephrine, they are called adrenergic neurons. Then serotonin, it is derived from amino acid tryptophan, and histamine from histidine. Like we said, dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, they are synthesized from tyrosine. Similarly, serotonin is derived from amino acid tryptophan and histamine from histidine. Glutamate and aspartate, these are all excitatory neurotransmitters of the CNS. The primary inhibitory neurotransmitters in the CNS are GABA and glycine. Now you can see this is how acetylcholine is synthesized from acetyl coenzyme A plus choline. This acetyl coenzyme A is formed by this process, that glucose, when undergoes glycolysis, it forms pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid enters into this mitochondria by the Krebs cycle, and we have this acetyl coenzyme A. This acetyl coenzyme A, it combines with choline to form acetylcholine. This acetylcholine is packaged into the synaptic vesicles, and by the process of mobilization, docking, and fusion release, they are released into the synaptic cleft. Once into the synaptic cleft, they are subjected to enzymatic degradation, because we don't want the neurotransmitter to remain there for a sustained period of time. That is why we go for enzymatic degradation. What is enzyme degradation? Acetyl coenzyme esterase. This is an enzyme which is present at the post synaptic membrane of in the postsynaptic membrane, the acetyl coenzyme the acetyl coenzyme esterase is present, right? It breaks down the acetylcholine into choline and acetate. This choline then enters, or it is taken back into the terminal, axon terminal, through different sodium transporters, and again it will combine with acetyl coenzyme A, and acetylcholine will be produced. So the major thing is this acetylcholine esterase, which is present, which enzymatically degrades the acetylcholine, because we want the neurotransmitters, they should not be present at the synaptic cleft for longer period of time. That should happen within seconds or even fractions of seconds. They must be degraded, or they must be pumped back into the presynaptic terminals. Similarly, this is for a glutamate. This neurotransmitter, you can see from glutamate is formed. This glutamate is getting packaged in the synaptic vesicles. Then this glutamate is released. They are opening certain ligand-gated channels, and this glutamate, they can diffuse. That means they can diffuse into the presynaptic terminal. They can also diffuse into some astrocytes, and these astrocytes, they break down the glutamate into glutamine, and this glutamine can be transported back into the presynaptic terminal. So this is one way of neurotransmitter degradation, that is enzymatic degradation. This is another way of removing neurotransmitter from the synaptic cleft, that is by diffusion. So diffusion and enzymatic degradation, these are the two methods by which neurotransmitters, they are released, or they are taken back from the, or they are displaced from the synaptic cleft after their action is over. ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଆମେ जो कहूଥିଲେ कि बहुत डिप्रेशन हुए लोक मानकर, डिप्रेशन आजिकली बहुत कॉमन, तुम देखिथिबो बहुत बहुत गुडे प्रॉब्लम्स भी होउची डिप्रेशन पई. कहा पाखरे पैसा नहीं सी डिप्रेस्ड, कहा पाखरे फैमिली नहीं सी डिप्रेस्ड, कहा पाखरे गर्लफ्रेंड नहीं सी डिप्रेस्ड, कहा पाखरे बॉयफ्रेंड नहीं सी डिप्रेस्ड, कहा पाखरे पाठ पढ़ा पढ़ी ठीक होउनी, ऑब्जेक्टिव टाइप क्वेश्चन ठीक भूल ही जाउची सी डिप्रेस्ड. सो डिप्रेशन इज रैम्पेंट नाउअडेज. And to treat these depression disorders, doctors often give a medication whose job is to prolong, or it is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Serotonin, you know, that is a neurotransmitter that is associated with mood. Your mood is dependent on serotonin. That is a neurotransmitter which is a mood elevator. So in that, when you start taking the medication, what happens? The serotonin which was immediately taken from the synaptic cleft, it was, the reuptake of serotonin is prevented by the drug, and serotonin is allowed to stay in the space, or to stay in the synaptic cleft for a longer period of time. And since serotonin is associated with mood, your mood will be elevated. You will no longer feel depressed. So serotonin reuptake inhibitors, these are certain class of drugs which are used for treatment of depressive or any sort of maniac, means any sort of depressive disorders, because they allow the neurotransmitters to stay in the synaptic cleft for longer period of time. And mostly it is specific for serotonin, which is associated with your mood. So these are the two processes. One is enzymatic degradation, second is diffusion, right? And these are the two things. You can go for that. Like there are certain peptide neurotransmitters like enkephalins and endorphins. These are associated with analgesia. Analgesia means painkiller or pain killing effect. Enkephalins and endorphins, they mediate analgesia, that is pain killing effect. તમે ଦେଖିଥିବ, તમે ଯେତେବେଳେ ଗୋଟେ ଦୌଡ଼ା ଦୌଡ଼ିରେ ପାର୍ଟିସିପେଟ୍ କରୁଛ, તમે ଟିକେ ବାଟ ଦୌଡ଼ିଥିବ, ତମକୁ ଭାରି କଷ୍ଟ ହେବ. କିଛି ସମୟ ଦୌଡ଼ି ଗଲା ପରେ you will feel like you can again run for 5 kilometers. ଆମେ ଯୋଉ କହୁଛେ body warm up ହେଇଗଲା. So in that case what happens? Certain endorphins are released, and these endorphins, they mediate an analgesia type of or a pain killing type of effect. तमे फास्ट आधा किलोमीटर दौड़ब तुमको भारी कष्ट हम जिते तुम गोटे किलोमीटर दौड़ कंटिन्यूअसली गोटे तुम बॉडी रे गोटे इफेक्ट प्रोड्यूस हम से इफेक्ट रे तुम आउ 2 किलोमीटर भी आराम से दौड़ जीव विदाउट एनी पेन टू योर बॉडी बढ़िया लगे देह को बढ़िया तुमको दौड़ की पड़ेगा because certain endorphins are released because these endorphins they help in mediating analgesia. Analgesia means pain killing effect. आमे जो खाऊचे analgesics, pain killers are known as analgesics. Paracetamol is a pain killer. So substance P, this is contrast. This is helpful in the pain pathways. आमे आगु पढ़िबा about the pain pathways, how they are happening. And this nitric oxide, they can also be synthesized from oxygen and amino acid arginine. Nitric oxide can be synthesized from amino acid arginine and it can also function as a neurotransmitters. Now these neurotransmitters are removed quickly, as I told you. One is enzymatic inactivation, second is your diffusion. This is for enzymatic inactivation and this is for diffusion. How they are transported back into the neuron or into the astrocytes. I gave you an example of glutamate, how it is happening. So with this, we complete today's class. Any doubts?
Sir, fusion
Yes,
and release.
Himanshu, tell me.
Sir, fusion and release टा क्या होता है कोई तो?
Fusion and release. गोटे जिनस ला mobilization, गोटे जिनस ला docking, गोटे जिनस ला fusion release. Docking माने जत्ते बोले तमरा synaptic vesicles उड़ा जाए कि anchor है कि रहिबे terminal button संगे. That is the process of docking. तापर next step रे कौन हबो जत्ते बोले calcium पड़े आसीबो synaptotagmin कौन करिबो sense करिबो कि calcium पड़े आसला. This synaptotagmin, it can bind to calcium also, it can also bind to membrane phospholipids. So that सी कौन करिबो जो synaptic vesicles उड़ा dock है कि थिले एबे से synaptic vesicles उड़ा directly जाए कि लागी जिबे with the terminal buttons. That is the fusion. Fusion means you are understanding that is binding. First dock है कि थिले anchor है कि थिले by the help of SNAP25 protein, by the help of this other two proteins. But when there is calcium entry and this synaptotagmin is able to sense, then there is binding of both the terminal button membrane and the synaptic vesicles. That fusion is the penultimate step of release. Once fusion है then the neurotransmitters can be released by exocytosis. Okay, somebody asked why inhibitory. Chinmay Kumar Khuntia is asking why inhibitory neurotransmitters are released while we need only excitatory neurotransmitter for depolarization. No, Chinmay, sometimes you also need to inhibit something. To inhibit something, a good example is, I want to show you, just a moment. Now, this is the knee jerk reflex, which I had discussed in the last class. Whenever you are tapping the knee or the patellar tendon, right, what happens? You can see the sensory information is being carried. And here you can see this is a monosynaptic reflex that is happening. And it is going to the quadriceps muscles, and your quadriceps muscles are being excited so that you stretch your legs. But in the meanwhile, these sensory neurons, they are also contacting certain interneurons which are going to inhibit your flexor muscles. जो पर्यंत तमर फ्लेक्सर मसल्स टा इनहिबिट न होईची तमर एक्सटेंसर मसल टा काम करिवो नाही. बुझिपाल कि नहीं? So there is also a need to inhibit certain things for your excitation to happen. Now a extensor muscle ta ko tame excite kar dela, but you are not able to stretch your legs until and unless these flexor muscles get inhibited. That is why there must be something released at this point. Some neurotransmitters from the release from must be released at this point, which will inhibit this neuron, so that it is going to, or some neurotransmitters from must be released at this point, which is going to inhibit your muscles. That is the need why we need both excitatory as well as inhibitory neurotransmitters during our this process. Is it clear, Chinmay? Okay. Any other
Sir?
doubts? Larisha?
So yes, sir. Sir, how during the resting phase some of the vesicles are docked? There is nothing like means no action potential, no sir. So no calcium is released. So what makes them to dock there?
Okay. In the last phase, in this, you can also well appreciate in the mobilization phase, they have also shown this docking. Yes, you can see in the last docking, it doesn't appear to directly depend on the process of calcium. They have given a statement. Right?
Yes, sir.
So even without calcium release at rest, some amount of docking has also already been happened. But the thing is that it is happening in a cyclic manner. So maybe something has happened in the previous cycle. During the previous cycle, some neurotransmitters must be mobilized, and those neurotransmitters, those synaptic vesicles which are mobilized, they must have come and docked with each other. And if you see in this, they have also given a statement that docking, it doesn't appear to directly depend on the process of calcium. Here, in which they can say when the calcium influx modifies the synaptic vesicles, they can approach the synaptic Button membrane, the binding proteins on the vesicular membrane and on the internal surface of the Button membrane, thus attach anchoring the vesicles to the internal face of the membrane. So this is the point you can well appreciate, that it doesn't directly depend on the process of calcium, and there is also, it is happening in a cyclic manner. So in one cycle, if some calcium is getting entry, there is mobilization happening, and those mobilized vesicles are now docked in this process. And docking requires the process of three proteins that we discussed: SNAP25, syntaxin, and synaptobrevin.
Yes, sir.
Next, Udit Narayan is asking, how are docked vesicles different from reserved ones in binding action? Docked vesicles different from reserved one. Yes, reserved ones, they have this synapsin 1 protein which can bind to the cytoskeleton. But these docking vesicles, they have the proteins in during the docking process. This SNAP25 and the this SNAP25 and the vesicle associated membrane protein or synaptobrevin, they come into account. So this is the function of different proteins of the vesicle membrane that are associated with different process and with different actions. For docking, different protein is utilized. For reserve pool, different protein is utilized. Is it clear, Udit? Okay. Next, any other question?
Sir,
Yes, Radhanjali.
ଯଦି enzymatic degradation ଆଉ diffusion ହେଇକି
କଟିଗଲା, ଶୁଭୁନି।
sir
sir,
ଯଦି enzymatic degradation ହେଇକିନା ତାପରେ diffusion ଏଇ ଦିଟା process ରେ neurotransmitter ଗୁଡାକ degrade ହେଇଗଲା ପରେ ସେଟା ତ automatically ମାନେ ମାନେ ଇନହିବିଟୋରି ଆକ୍ସନ ହେଇଯିବ ନା, ତ ସେଥିଲାଗି ଇନହିବିଟୋରି ନ୍ୟୁରୋଟ୍ରାନ୍ସମିଟର କଣ ପାଇଁ ତାହେଲେ ଦରକାର?
ଇନହିବିଟରି କେମିତି ହେଇ ତମେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ଆସିଟିଲ କୋଲାଇନ୍ ଯେତେବେଳେ ତମ ରିଲିଜ ହେଲା ଟୁ ଦ ସିନାପ୍ଟିକ କ୍ଲେଫ୍ଟ, right, it is
Yes,
opening
sir.
sodium channels in the postsynaptic membrane. So it has done its role. It has already opened sodium channels in the postsynaptic membrane. ଏବେ ତମେ ଚାହୁଁନ କି ସେ ସବୁ ମାନେ ଥ୍ରୁ ଆଉଟ୍ ଟାକୁ ପୁଣି ଡିପୋଲାରାଇଜେସନ କରୁ, ତମକୁ ସେଇ ଷ୍ଟିମୁଲସ୍ ଟାକୁ ବାହାର କରିଦେବାର ଅଛି। You want to remove the neurotransmitter immediately, ନହେଲେ ସେ continuously ସେ sodium channel ଟାକୁ ଖୋଲି ଚାଲିଥିବ, ଆମର
Yes, sir.
ନେକ୍ସଟ ନ୍ୟୁରନ୍ ଟା ଏକ୍ସାଇଟ୍ ହେଇ ଚାଲିଥିବ, because ଆମର ଡିପୋଲାରାଇଜେସନ ପରେ ରିପୋଲାରାଇଜେସନ ବି ଦରକାର in order to get back it to resting state and to avoid over excitation. So ସେଇ କେସରେ ତମେ ସାଙ୍ଗେ ସାଙ୍ଗେ ତାକୁ ବାହାର କରିଦେବାକୁ ପଡିବ, ତା କାମ ସରିଗଲା ତାକୁ ବାହାର କରିଦେବ, ନଟ୍ ଦ୍ୟାଟ୍ ତା କାମ ସରିବା ପୂର୍ବରୁ ବାହାର କରିବ।
Yes, sir.
Okay, any other doubt? Anyways, we come to the end of the class. People, you can leave. Thank you for the class. Next class again we'll be starting with a quiz, then we'll proceed further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.